Hey dear,
Hey, Gamb.
episode 17,
Yeah, it
the
was.
Time Meddler.
Yep.
What's it about? What happened? What is the hizzy?
Is he busy? The hisness business?
Business business. What goes on?
Well,
What's going on in the Time Meddler?
in the first episode, because you have to go sequentially, of course. I mean, we could talk about the
I
third.
I do like sequential order, yes.
I mean, I could talk about the third episode, then circle around back, but you wouldn't know what's going on. So,
No, I wouldn't, which
You
is why I
wouldn't.
asked what happened, and I
Uh-huh.
tend to infer that I mean sequentially.
so it's called The Watcher. And we see a clock ticking, and Vicky's kind of looking at it. The doctor's at the control panel, clicking buttons, and Vicky says she'll miss them. And the doctor goes, lol, who? And then he's like, wait, no, I'm actually gonna miss them too. And then the doctor decides that he also wants to talk to Vicky. And he's like, are you sure? Like, you really want to be here? Do you want to go home? Like, are you okay? And they're like, I'm good. Barbara and Ian were just really old. And, like, that's a whole joke.
I mean,
and
yeah, that's kind of what she says.
and he goes, like, well, if they're old, then, like, what do you think of me? He's like, oh, you're different for some reason. And they start talking, and then suddenly, there's a really loud sound at the door of the living quarters. Ah! And Vicky's talking about how it's very obviously Dalek. So the doctor takes his coat off to use it, and Vicky her shoe, and they're like, oh yes, this is totally going to work. And the noise comes out, and it's Panda Man! Steven's there.
Pandaman. Yeah, he got his panda.
He
Remember?
brought his panda. Yeah.
That was Ian. I forget the name of the fucking panda.
Fuck. I would think it was in my last week's notes, but I don't remember.
Probably, but I can
We see the TARDIS swoop in, and there's a monk watching it do so, and he's like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I wonder. And then they give Stephen some water, and he explains how he got there, and pretty much, he just wandered through the woods, went through this weird door, it was bigger on the inside, so he just kind of hung out. Thank God he didn't get on the fucking Dalek time machine. Holy shit. Well, I'm sorry, listen, it exploded, so thank God, right? And the doctor's like, you don't get to call me Doc. $5 says by the end of the season he's gonna call him Doc and be okay with it.
Well, probably, yeah.
Steven is still kind of crazy, but doesn't trust that it's a time machine, and the doctor's like, it's okay, Vicky, he'll see it eventually. And he's like, okay, well, feel free to point out everything around me. And he's like, what is this? It's a radar. This is the time-space thing. And that's a panda in a chair. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
So,
The very important aspects of the TARDIS.
so important. Steven still doesn't believe it's a whole time machine, so they decide to clean him up and give him a cloak. And they've apparently landed on Earth. So everything's very, very nice. But then we see a lady cooking some soup and then being scared. But then a man suddenly comes up and asks for Wilmot. And he says
That's why
something
she's good.
and says something has landed on the beach. It's a box, probably from a ship, and it's big and it's blue and it's a box. So we should probably go check it out. So they leave to go check it out.
Big old shit.
Big old ship. The doctor and everybody come out of the TARDIS, and they have found a Viking helmet, apparently. And they're like, yes, I guess this is 10th to 11th-ish century England, perhaps? Maybe?
Perhaps.
Perhaps?
Mayhaps.
And something is, like, sort of weird, and they're kind of looking around, and they're like, I don't know where they're going to go. And, wait, sorry, words, hard. Steven is like, why don't you know where you're going? And Steven keeps asking questions, like, why doesn't your TARDIS work? And Vicky's just like, shut up. Just have fun. Like, stop.
Shut up.
And they're kind of explaining everything about how the TARDIS can camouflage as, like, anything on the beach or wherever they are so that no one can see it. And he's like, so if it landed on a beach, it'd look like a rock, right? He's like, yes, correct. Then why does it look like a police box? And they're like, shut the fuck up, Steven. Like, stop.
Steven, stop being such an asshole.
We know our stuff is broken. Please don't rub it in, okay? But then we kind of zoom down the rock that the doctor's, like, throwing pebbles down, and there's that monk. And he's listening to them. And
oh, no.
all these things. And the doctor decides to leave on his own because he doesn't like climbing up the cliff. And he tells Steven and Vicky to wait, because if they wait for him and then they climb up, like, it'll be easier for them, apparently, or something. I didn't really understand that, but it was just to split them up, basically. And then Steven and Vicky both just decide to climb the cliff right then and there anyway. So...
Well, yeah, of course. Wouldn't
you? I mean, no.
Oh.
Well, I would probably delay any sort of exercise I have to do until the moment I have to do it.
Don't call me out.
I'm calling myself out here. Okay? Then the monk suddenly runs up to the box and, like, listens into it intensely.
He makes love to the box.
And he gives it a small smooch. And he moves in real close.
He caresses. His hands go real low.
Gently across the TARDIS. Comes in, caressing every knob of the front door. I can't. I hate ASMR.
There's no knobs.
Caressing the keyhole of the door.
Oh, fingering the keyhole.
God damn it. I'm so sorry. I hate ASMR, so... Oh my god.
Keep going. Episode. What Monks had sex with the TARDIS. What next?
Yes. And then he looks at his wrist and he's really, really concerned and angry, and we see a shot of the ocean, and I realize something at this point that no one fucking else did, but we're not gonna get to that just yet. The doctor has come across Soup Lady's camp. Oh, and there's a dead fox and some arrows and a bow and the sound of howling, and then he suddenly gets a stick around the neck pinning him to something. But the monk, yeah, it's very sexy. The monk has made his way into a building, and the two men at the cliff are talking about how the TARDIS is probably being crushed against the rocks because of the tide, and how there's probably nothing there, and that kind of sucks that they didn't get here soon enough. And Soup Lady is giving the doctor a drink of mead. How nice! I fucking love mead. And the monastery is apparently...
Go back to 1066 then.
Listen. Maybe, but also, no, I'm a woman.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
By their standards, I'm a woman, and I would rather not, thank you.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
I mean...
Anyway, doctor's drinking mead.
Yeah, he's getting mead, and she's really nice, and she talks about how the monastery is apparently up the hill, and sometimes when the wind is really nice, you can really hear them sing, and it's very nice. But they...
Who's them, dear?
The monks.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Because it's a monastery of monks. And if something happens weather-wise, we will have to stop for a second. But until then, it's fine. It is heavy raining over here. Two men are at the cliff talking about the TARDIS, and the Soup Lady's like, they live near a beach, apparently, but the doctor walked too far away around the cliff to get up, because he just kind of felt like it, and also he's a dick. And...
I mean, well, okay, whatever.
And the doctor's trying to figure out, like, exactly what time it is. And he's like, okay, well, when did this king die? And who's in power now? And so on and so forth. And he's like, oh, it has to be exactly 1066. Oh! And the woman is literally thinking the doctor is insane and tired. And then he says that he really misses... He really misses Barbara.
He doesn't miss Barbara.
I also miss Barbara. Because she would have loved Old England. This was like her shit. You know?
She was a history teacher. Well, she was a teacher that liked history. English history, so she would have loved it.
English history.
But she's gone.
English history very specifically.
Yep, but she's gone. Move on.
the doctor remembers that there was a Viking invasion very soon, and that's how William the Conqueror, and etc., etc. And then
William
the doctor...
the Conky Wonky.
The doctor is kind of listening to the music, and then it kind of makes a weird sort of, like, skip sound, and he's like, where's this monastery? And no one really sees the monks in the monastery. They just know it's there. So the doctor leaves to go. And then we see Stephen and Vicky walking through the bush. And Stephen doesn't understand Vicky is a kid, for whatever reason, and, like, is running her into the ground. And then there's suddenly a twig snapping noise. And then yells a bunch to Stephen to fucking listen to her about how they shouldn't fucking, like, just jump the first person that comes out of the woods. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And then tackles the dude.
You must learn from me.
Yes.
A man.
Yes, of course. The dude finds something on the ground, and then Steven just stands up and fucking tackles him, which literally results in Steven getting punched in the face. Thank you. And Steven, apparently, the guy found a wristwatch on the ground, which he took from the guy, so he's like, you still, sir, this is 10th century England? Like, I don't believe you. And,
I didn't know Stephen turned into a fucking 5-year-old.
I mean, yeah. And the doctor is now at the monk's house, and the door is locked, which is weird. But we see the monk inside slowly opening the door for him to come in. And, and then we find the doctor wandering around, and he finds a record player singing monk music, and then the monk comes up and traps him and laughs.
I mean, that's not a record player, it's a gramophone, but whatever.
It plays a record.
It was playing a record, but it was a gramophone.
Well, yeah, but it's... Okay, whatever. It's fine.
It has an inbuilt speaker. It means it's a gramophone.
And then that was the episode.
Yeah. What a... Well, no, it wasn't, because you're forgetting, like, the specific what ends the episode.
The doctor looking like a deer in the headlights?
Yeah. And the monk laughing maniacally in his face as he's... trapped.
And the monk comes up and laughs at him, going, hey, 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 hey.
I really... This is another fun episode, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So, yes, that is Stephen from the previous episode.
Mr. Alabama.
Was also Mr. Alabama.
Mr. Alabama.
Mr. Alabama, yeah.
I mean, I can't really do a southern accent outside of, like, Texas, so...
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!
So...
Howdy, my name is Mr. Alabama! Sorry?
This episode was also one that was initially listed as missing, but was found in 1985 in... Guess what country, dear?
Alabama.
That is not a country, but you know what? They probably think they are.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you 2 more tries.
Albuquerque.
Give an actual guess as to what country.
Alhambra. I'm getting
Nigeria.
smaller here. Okay.
Because of that, there's, for some reason, I don't know why, but there's actually 12 seconds missing from the final episode of it. Censorship reasons, one would assume, because the 12 seconds that are missing are 2 characters being stabbed to death.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
Who could that have been?
What?
Who could that have been?
Audio survives of it, but, and it's on the DVD, so thank God for DVDs, but, yeah, no, it's, the one little bit of the story is still missing, unfortunately. Also, the Doctor is on holiday the next episode, so that's why you don't see him in Season 2. in Episode 2, sorry.
Yep.
Which you picked up on very quickly.
Yep.
Anyway, Episode 2, what does happen, dear?
Stuff and things, including, the meddling monk, and the Doctor still kind of looks like a deer in the headlights. Then we see some landscape shots, and it's kind of nice, and then we see a shot of a toaster. And the monk is apparently making breakfast, and humming, and making eggs, and grits.
It's 1066. How can he have a toaster and a girdle? Like,
we'll get
a griddle, not a girdle.
A girdle. I hope he had a girdle. Holy crap.
He's making eggs on a girdle.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hell.
He's making, just don't worry about it, he's making breakfast for the doctor, and the doctor is in a very specific room, apparently, to which the monk unlocks and brings in a nice bit of food, and the doctor's like, I don't fucking want this, and throws water at him, from the other side. And then we see the original two huntermen, and now a third looking around, and they've found Vicky, but Stephen is nowhere to be found, but then he walks out of the bushes. He found some blackberries to eat, and Vicky asks the time, and she pretty much goes like, man, I wish I knew what time it was. And Steven's like, it's 5:20, get fucked. And then a twig snaps, and Steven checks, and Vicky is then held at knife point, which is very fun.
By
The Saxons.
the Saxons.
They're to be taken to the village. And
Yay!
Yay! Soup lady! The monk comes out of his house and goes to look at his watch
Soup?
out of habit, even though it's not there, and then pretends to read as Soup lady walks up. They brought him some food, because she's so sweet, and then he's like, oh, thank you, but I'm here for some solitude and studies, so please leave me the fuck alone. Fuck alone.
Fuck you alone.
Fuck. Leave me the fuck alone.
Leave me the fuck alone.
And so he climbs back up the hill after they leave and then pulls out some binoculars. And we see the doctor smacking at the door, asking it for it to be opened. And we cut back to... Sorry, I'm yawning so much tonight. We cut back to the ocean, and they're like, that's weird, where's the TARDIS? And the monk is on the beach looking sad that it's gone. And he's also apparently a drug addict. And he's doing that cocaine, and then suddenly sees a Viking ship coming towards England. Oh my god. Because he's doing cocaine, so he sees... That's totally how all drugs work, right? You see things?
Yeah, that's how they work.
All drugs work like that.
Every single drug.
Every single one. That aspirin you're taking makes you see shit.
Including that Mary Jane that you are smoking right now,
Oh,
Jonathan.
God. For real though, hey, Jonathan, can you send me some?
No, send it to me and
Just
get me
asking.
arrested.
Just asking for a friend. Could you spot me some? I'm a little bit...
Yeah, what
low.
happens?
What? I'm not doing drugs,
Episode.
Vicky and Steven are taken back to the village, and Steven is kind of believing that they're time traveling now, but everyone thinks that they're spying for the Vikings. And
I mean,
it's
aren't
fucking caveman politics.
I'm sorry, what? What was that? What do you think it is?
It's a little bit of caveman politics. Because one of the dudes who I started to just call crazy, because he had crazy eyes, basically comes up and goes, you're not going to be leader for long, and when you aren't, I'm going to take over, and I'm going to run this place right. And then Soup Man pretty much goes like, no, fuck you, I'm still leader, so you have to listen to what I say. And I'm just like, God, fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, their names,
I'm
I
sorry
believe...
you don't like the
They're actual...
the thrilling action.
Unaloth and Eldred, I believe, are their names. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Fuck if I know.
Okay, well, I called them Soup Leader or Soup Man and Crazy,
Okay.
so...
Yes, they're Woolnoth and Eldred. Eldred,
Okay.
yeah, Eldred's the fucking psycho one.
Yeah.
Woolnoth is the
Soup man.
bear.
Yeah.
The big boy.
Husband of Soup Lady.
Husband of Soup.
Yeah, they take Vicky inside and get her some food, and she's told where the monastery is, and Soup Lady is so fucking nice. And
She
Steven
really is.
takes the food to give, and they give him a send-off, and they're like, may God be with you, and he's like, yeah, thanks.
And with
no,
his spirit.
actually, thank you. And may God be with you, and whatever. And he's like very uncomfortable about God for some reason or something, or just like not really sure. I'm not really...
Because he's from the future.
I guess.
God doesn't exist in the future.
I mean...
God dies in the 31st century, dear.
Oh, I see. That makes more sense. The village goes off to work in the fields, and the one angry man, Crazy, is still very crazy. And then we see the Vikings coming, and they're climbing the cliff. And there's one that I was going to call Eagle Hat Man, but then he never showed back up again, but he had an eagle hat.
Oh no, not Eagle Hat Man.
And then the next one had a really nice ponytail, and then there was a third one that had no real discerning features. And they don't want to be found at all, so they can fight Harold or something or other, so that it's a surprise attack and they can win. And they're like,
surprises.
If you fuck up this, like, we're screwed, basically. Vicky and Steven, though, are heading back to the monastery and knock at the door. And Mr. Monk, of course, answers and says, of course, no one's been here. And Steven's like... And Steven's kind of like rubbing his chin. He's like, that was kind of weird, Vicky. It's like he expected us. And then they're talking to themselves right outside the door, and the monk is literally listening to them through the door. Because no one understands to, like, whisper.
Well, they thought he walked away.
I would still whisper. Maybe that's just me.
I'm sorry, you weren't with them.
Well, you know what? If I was, maybe shit would get done faster. Okay.
Well, sounds like a you problem.
I feel like, would you be my doctor, or would we both be companions and have another doctor?
See, it's bold of you to assume I would be involved at all.
Oh. You wouldn't want to go in space and time?
I wouldn't. You know me, I wouldn't be invited.
I'm gonna drag you along with this. Fuck you.
I would be... Oh,
it's fine.
God. Now that would be a dynamic. Anyway.
I've dragged you? Okay, well, that needs to be a thing eventually.
Keep going, what happens?
So, they don't believe him, and then Steven's like, you know what, Vicky, shut the fuck up, let me talk to him. So he asked the monk again, hey, if you do see our friend, let us know. It's like, you do remember his description we gave you, yeah? And he's like, white hair, big jacket, older man, and he's like, And then they go away, and he's like, hey, Vicky, we should break in. He's like, what? Why? That didn't help. Oh, wait, you didn't ever give him a description. He's like, no shit, Vicky. Like, Steven's just like, yeah, like, are you dense? Like, come on. Steven's a smart boy and wants to break in, though. And they both scoot away after deciding to do so. And then we see Soup Woman, and she's worried about the trees. And she grabs a big old spear to maybe fight the trees, and then suddenly a Viking drops down and grabs her, and he has an eye patch, so he's obviously Odin.
Yes.
The
Greek god of Odin.
Mm-hmm. And the men have come back to the village, and they find Soup Woman dead. And then Soup Leader Man is very upset, and then Crazy Man comes up saying, it was the villagers, of course we should have killed them, listen to me, I'm crazy. And then Soup Woman finally comes to and mentions that actually it was Vikings. And then they all leave to follow the trail of the Vikings, ready to kill them. But then the Vikings are just, of course, walking around and laughing really loudly and being kind of drunk, honestly.
We are Vikings.
We are Vikings. Da-di-da-di-da. And then they attack the Vikings out of nowhere, and everyone's stabbing everyone. And Soup Leader Man is doing great. Crazy Man is not. And they have pretty much one of the Vikings killed, and the other two kind of fuck off. But Crazy Man is hurt. Oh no. And the monk is in his house at night, and we see Steven and Vicky sneaking into the house, and the monk is playing "Oh de wama risher de rouge dory may pickle Rick" again. And we know that. Can you do better, Mr. Choir Boy? Anyway, Oda Omawa Shindaru Dorime Pickle Rick, and there's a knock at the front door, and it's Crazy Man and Soup Leader, and he's like, "Help me, he's injured." And
I love that you called him Soup Leader.
Well,
Not
yeah.
Saxon Leader, just Soup Leader.
Because the more important thing is that he's married to Soup Lady. She's more important than him.
And she is the key to everything. She
is.
really is the key to the episode,
She is. And this Vicky and Steven find the gramophone. And then they finally see the doctor inside his jail cell. And the monk lets wounded crazy man and soup leader into the monastery, because of course he's a monk. He's got to keep up, like, niceties.
Appearances.
And then that was pretty much the episode.
Except you missed one crucial thing.
I'll get to that in the next episode, because they literally just repeat it.
Yeah, well, they went into the doctor's cell and the doctor's not there.
I was gonna keep that for a surprise for next episode, but fine.
Well, otherwise, what cliffhanger are they leaving on? Oh no, will Eldred get the first aid that he needs?
Oh no, soup!
What a fucking cliffhanger.
Oh no, soup!
They're called cliffhangers for a reason, dear.
Well, I like hill rolls.
So, in this episode, this is kind of the first time they, I guess you could say, borderline retcon something. Vicky says that TARDIS stands for time and relative dimensions in space. Which is slightly different to what Susan actually said in the first episode when she said dimension in space. It was actually just an error by the actress for Vicky. She just said it wrong, but they just kept it for the rest of the show.
Oh.
I was like, yeah, fuck it, it's dimensions now.
Oh.
It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but yeah, it's sure something, that's for certain.
God damn it, Vicky.
You right?
God damn it, Vicky.
Yeah, God, fucking, come on, Vicky. Footage of the Viking ship that you see in the episode is actually from a BBC newsreel about a Viking recreation on the south coast of England.
Oh.
So, like, you'd assume, oh, it's just stock footage. No, it's not. It's kind of stock footage, but it's more like BBC leftover footage, which is kind of great. Yeah. Anyway, next episode. Tell us what happens in the third episode. That is titled...
Battle of Wits. A battle of wits and grits. And they pull off the coat and the doctor isn't there. Oh no! And the monk is leading Soup and Crazy into an area and he's like, I'll be back soon to help you. Like, it's just hang out here. And they're like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. And then Vicky finds a secret passage and... Or is thinking that there's a secret passage, and Steven's like, nah, you're crazy, and then Vicky finds it. And it's a loose stone, and then they sneak inside, because of course. And they're the smart ones and close the door behind them. And the monk goes to check on the doctor, and he's like, oh, fuck, he's missing. And they're like, oh god, like, what do I do? And then Soup Leader calls out, wondering where the monk is, and he's like, okay, my son, I'll be right there.
Soup Leader.
Okay, Mr.
Going
Soup
in for
Leader. I'm bringing your chowder. Hold on. Steven and Vicky are crawling more and more through this deep, damp, branchy area, and the doctor is back with Soup Lady, asking if she's okay because she was attacked by Vikings, and he just wants to make sure she's okay. And she's like, oh yeah, like, I saw your friends. And he's like, what? And they're like, yeah, they went up to the monastery. And she's literally the pin for all of this fucking episode.
She is the linchpin. Well, not really for that, for other things, but...
Yes. And the doctor's like, oh no, Vikings, you say? And he's talking about how there might have been an armada maybe coming. And the monk apparently couldn't be a coincidence, so he mumbles some history to himself and then kind of fucks off. And then Steven thinks that they should go back to the monastery, and Vicky's like, no, let's do this together if we're gonna explore and figure out the monastery shit. So we really need to find the doctor. And we see the monk pulling out some aspirin and bandages, and he gives Crazy some penicillin, and then he's like, no, wait, actually it's a herb. It's a herb, trust me. And then he asks Crazy about the Vikings, and he's like, they'll probably be here in like 2 or 3 days-ish. And then Soup Leader comes over and is like, can he stand? Can he walk? He's like, no, I really would have rather have given him a blood transfusion. Prayer, hope and praise. And
hopes and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Yeah. And then the soup leader's like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go back to soup lady. And then we see the Viking boys taking a rest, ready to go south. And one of them wants to hide, and one of them is like, no, you're a shitty Viking, and wants to kill him with a rock, because this is an extremely accurate episode. Which...
Yes.
I know I'm picking this apart, but I really do love Viking stuff and, like, European history and stuff. So, like, for me, having correct weaponry or the desire to continue their mission even though they might die is... I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a little bit
you just
annoying.
Gotta remember the historical context of, like, it was the 60s.
It's written in the 60s,
and it was,
know.
like, kind of, like, pop white version of history.
They literally
knew.
start
like, no one
the
ever
entire
questioned
episode,
it.
like you said, with a Viking helmet with horns on it. I'm just like,
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that sort of thing is kind of persistent throughout it, because it's the kind of history that no one ever really questioned, because, well, we're white, how can we get it wrong?
Yeah. They decide to go take the monastery and hide in it, because they'd rather not get killed by the Saxons, but they also want to continue their siege for the Armada. And then we cut to the monk, and I don't have notes for this. I literally copied and pasted an image into my notes, and it literally is the monk checkmarking off a progress chart called progress chart. And the first one was arrival in Northumbria, and then the second was position the atomic cannon. The third was fight the Vikings.
Nope. Sight Vikings.
Sight Vikings, right. The fourth was light beacon fires. The fifth, destroy Viking fleet.
Okay.
Sixth, Norman landing. 7, the Battle of Hastings. 8, meet with King Harold.
Oh, okay.
And he has 3 of them
plan.
checked off so far. So, there's something going on. There's something going on.
Someone's got a plan.
Ooh. Also, how does a monk have an atomic cannon, Gamb? I'm not really understanding what's going on.
I don't know, something must be going on here, dude.
Something must be going on. Something must be going on. There's a knock at the door, and he's kind of frustrated that there's more people coming to his door. And he opens it, and that's weird. There's no one there. And so he closes it, and then there's another knock at the door. But there's no one there, and so he kind of walks outside a little bit. And the doctor shoves a stick in his back and holds him at stick point and walks him inside of the monastery. And I was very confused.
Do you remember what he says, though?
Yes, he claims it's a gun. It's a rifle, I believe.
He claims it's a Winchester.
Yeah. And he's like, I can shoot you right in the center of your back, like, you motherfucker, you're so dead. And so it works. And Vicky and Steven go back to where the TARDIS kinda was, but the tide is coming, and no one could have known about the tide.
No.
I literally, like, as soon as I saw a picture of the ocean in the TARDIS, I was like, the tide's gonna come in. Why aren't they fucking on the beach? And no one could have known.
Because they wanted sex on the beach. Anyway,
Apparently,
TARDIS is
though,
stranded on the beach.
the only way to move the TARDIS is time travel and dimensional travel, so Vicky's like, there's no way he could have moved it. It has to be down there still. Like, he wouldn't leave us, sort of thing. And she's very upset. And Steven tells...
technically she got left behind once before.
Yes. And Steven tells Vicky, like, stop fucking moping. Like, we at least need to do something. We can't do nothing and sit around and mope. And she's like, I'm not moping. And she is.
She says moping.
She literally is. Like, Steven's even sitting there going, like, I get that you're upset, and I'm upset too. If I'm left here, we need to do something. Even if that is going back to the monastery. Which, good job, Steven. I really like you.
Steven's a good boy.
He's so good.
He's a very good boy.
I like him a lot. He seems more intelligent than he is, I will say.
He seems more intelligent than he actually is.
Yeah. Like, he comes across as the type of character that they're trying to not play as intelligent. Like, he's kind of, like, an ace pilot. He's not extremely intelligent, but he's kind of cocky, sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much his character.
But at the same time, for me, he comes across as more intelligent than the character they're trying to give him.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Anyway, what happens?
Steven finds something in the leaves, and he's like, Vicky, look at this. He's like, I don't want to. He's like, Vicky, fucking look at this. And it's a fucking, like, not rocket launcher, I had the word for it earlier. An RPG launcher.
Could it perhaps be an atomic cannon?
It's an atomic cannon. But it's literally just an RPG launcher. And
it's a cannon.
Mm-hmm. And
you were like, it's not a gun, it's the bigger version of a gun. What do you call those again? A cannon.
No, it was an RPG launcher. It literally is an RPG launcher. Okay,
it's
anyway.
A cannon.
Okay. The doctor mentions the monk is leading him around in circles, and then he's like, I know that's a stick in my back. And he's like, yeah, it's a stick, but I can still beat your ass. Like, don't fucking try me. And so he's like, someone's at the door, so please at least dress up as a monk. So you can help me out, and we won't get caught. And the doctor's like, fine, I guess. But I get to open the door. And the monk's like, fine, I guess. And then the doctor opens the door, and the Vikings are here, and they take the doctor as prisoner. And the other monk, when the door opens, hides behind the door and fucks off. Because of course he does. And the one Viking is left to guard the doctor in the exact same prison room that he was in originally. And then the other Viking goes to tell all the other monks there that he's here to fight them, but then gets his head smashed in by the first monk with the stick. Because he hid behind the sarcophagus, and yeah. Vicky and Steven are crawling through the tunnel again, and the doctor opens the door to the tunnel like a fool. And the Viking comes in and, like, goes to go after him, but actually the doctor was behind the door and beats the Viking over the head with a stick with that one patented one whack that everybody does in this show.
I mean, it's successful. It works.
It is. It's a very good whack, regardless of what material is in their hands. The monk comes to the soup house and tells them to make beacon fires because some materials are coming in to rebuild the monastery, and they are to keep them lit so that they can come in the next 2 or 3 days. And then Soup Lady comes out and he's like, what did he just say? But there's Vikings coming. The doctor said there's Vikings coming. He's gotta be full of
not
shit,
Vikings.
Right? Like, he's a spy! And they're very wary of all of this, and Steven and Vicky are there again, and Steven takes the Viking sword, thank fuck, who's knocked out in front of them, and they're like, oh, I guess, well, he lost an argument, and they run off to go find the doctor, and apparently the doctor also has a sword, and holds the monk at sword point, asking him some questions, but Vicky and Steven don't know where they are, but then suddenly, they found a cable on the ground. That's weird. And they follow the cable, and it goes towards a sarcophagus, which has a door on it. And then they go in.
Just charging his phone.
Yeah, obviously, his sarcophagus iOS is a little bit out of date. It's fine. And then they crawl inside of the door, and they go in, and Gamb, it's a TARDIS.
Yeah.
And then that was the episode. Yeah.
Oh shit! Not
TARDIS. TARDIS.
Not a tub. So not much else left about this one. This was chosen by fans to represent William Hartnell's era of the Doctor by fans during the 40th anniversary of Doctor Who. Sort of, they had a little bit of a hey, let's go back and look through like all the iconic moments for all the Doctors, and this was the one chosen for the first Doctor, which kind of makes sense. It's a good little episode of his. Actually, no, I don't want to spoil that. At the end of the 4th episode, this one doesn't have a next episode caption. Unlike the last season's final episode, Reign of Terror, which did have a next episode, it just had the space thing as well. This one has like this cool little space thing, and also like the 3 main actors, like you're gonna see their faces go in and out through a diffusion, a light sort of diffusion type deal. It's pretty cool. I like it. I know you felt weird about it, but I liked it a lot. Yeah. So, yeah, the like I said with episode 2, Hartnell was on holiday, so all you hear is like recorded voiceovers, like from when he's inside the cell.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of obvious, because it's kind of obvious that it's like almost a tape recording almost.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're playing it on the set, but oh well. He's got to have a holiday.
Yeah.
Maybe he had cause even though he had one not that long ago, maybe he had one now because he was still kind of upset about his friends leaving.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, final episode, what happens?
It's called Checkmate, so they play chess.
Okay.
We need to play chess again. Holy crap.
No.
I love chess. How dare you? Fine. It honestly, the TARDIS just kind of looks like the Doctor's, so I assume they use the same set, but that's fine. The monk is
it's a little bit different.
Slightly.
Darker lighting, the console is actually high up on a platform. The position of the door to the console is slightly different.
Very slightly different. The monk is explaining how he's going to destroy the Vikings. Oh. And Vicky's looking around the TARDIS, and apparently this guy has a huge private collection from every period and place he has ever been. And also more atomic RPGs for the launcher. And they find a diary about what he's done. And he's apparently
A library.
He's met Da Vinci, talked to him about powered flight, put 200 pounds in a London bank, and then moved forward 200,000 years or whatever the fuck, or 200 years, collected the interest. And there was another thing, but I don't remember. And he's apparently a time meddler. And he's like, do you think the people of England or Scotland or whatever could have built Stonehenge without my gravitational blah blah blah? And it's like, yeah, just because fucking white people couldn't do it doesn't mean that you could.
Anti-grav lift.
Just because fucking white people couldn't do it doesn't mean aliens did it, or fucking time machine, whatever. It's a gripe of mine. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's... Yeah, don't worry.
It's a gripe of mine.
Don't worry.
He's also going to make Henry not tired, and be able to fight Normandy by killing the Vikings before they get there, thus changing all of history. Because, yeah, he's gonna lose the battle at Normandy, or whatever. So the Doctor asks where his time machine is, and we see that the Viking is awake, that the Doctor knocked out. And Crazy is also awake and sees this, and so he runs away. But the Vikings have decided to stay in the monastery because there might be some treasure, for whatever reason. And his TARDIS apparently has a repaired camouflage device. So it hides it anywhere it is, and it's currently a sarcophagus. So they head inside to look at the TARDIS, and Crazy leaves the monastery to go tell everyone that there's Vikings there. Vicky and Steven have found the to-do list that I mentioned earlier, as the Doctor and the monk walk inside. And they're like, oh wow, this is a Mark IV TARDIS. And Vicky's like, Doctor, we don't have a TARDIS anymore, like there's a problem. And it was on the beach, and the tide, and he's like, it's okay. It's a fucking time machine, it weighs like 1 billion trillion pounds, and nothing can get in. It's fine. It's not moving. It'll be there when the tide goes away.
Yeah. Vicky, stop fucking worrying. God.
The monk asks what kind of TARDIS the Doctor has, and he's like, oh yeah, well I have a Mark IV, blah blah blah, it does this, it has this console specifically, I'm telling you all these details. What kind of TARDIS do you have? Mind your own business, says the Doctor. And they start talking about what the monk is really doing, and he's like, I just want to improve the world. I want to tell them about airplanes and shit, and like give Hamlet to be put on TV way back when, and no one would ever know the difference if I changed the history books, you know? And the monk then runs out of the TARDIS, and everyone follows. So, yeah.
Oh no, he gets away.
Oh no. And the Saxons are all arguing about how the monk is a shitty Viking spy, and everyone's like, no, like, I don't believe you. And then Crazy Man comes up and he's like, guys, there's Vikings. And they're like, okay, well, sure, it's, okay, let's go. And the Vikings are now carrying something around because the monk basically went out of the TARDIS, went, hey, I'm actually a part of y'all, like, all hail, I forget his name, and they're your enemies, so go fight them.
All hail Sobek.
Mm-hmm. So they tie up the crew, and the monk is now working with the Vikings. So they're carrying the RPG atomic bombs things, and they're very heavy, and they're like, well, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's a charm to make sure that you land safe, It's very important. They're like, alright, sure. Steven is upset because all of the future is going to change and no one is going to realize that it had, because the moment that he changes time, everyone's memory of everything will be changed. Because, yeah, it has consequences.
Even though that's not how it works, but whatever. That's how he thinks it works, so that's okay.
The Doctor is pretending to sleep, sort of, but also not really, and thinking of what to do. The Saxons, though, are approaching the monastery with very, very sharp sticks. And the Vikings, at the same time, are carrying the RPGs to the cliff top. But suddenly, the Saxons are there, and they're going after the Vikings. Oh! And the monk, of course, runs away, but he's also followed by literally all the Saxons. And Soup Lady has untied everyone. She's so nice. And she even invites them back to the village before they leave to say goodbye. She's so fucking nice. I love her. Why isn't she a main character?
Well, you know,
I know.
She
yes,
played.
I know. Yes.
She played one of Dear's favorite.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
cavemen
so
in
favorite.
the first episode of Doctor Who.
Oh, it's fine. Because there were so many female cavemen, you could totally figure it out. Well, I'm saying, like, it'd be so impossible to figure it out of all the many female cavemen there were.
Fair, I guess, whatever.
The Doctor has plans at the monastery then. He's like, you go, we'll meet up with you. I'd like to write a letter to that monk. So we see the monk and the Vikings all running through the woods. And he goes, behind that tree over there, there's an old well we can hide in. So the Vikings start running that way, and then the monk pretends to run that way, then comes back and runs the other way. And then the Vikings come back, and there's like, no, there's no fucking well back there. And then the Saxons all come up and start kind of prodding them with some sticks. I assume this is the people that got stabbed.
Yes.
Oh,
They run up to them and then in scene cuts, whereas like, the scene continues and they get stabbed.
Then we see the Doctor's taking some stuff out of the monk's TARDIS and hot-wiring it, and he's like, Vicky, don't stick your nose in there, you're going to get electrocuted. And he ties a string around it, and then slowly makes everyone run the fuck outside, and slowly pulls the string until the thing disconnects from the TARDIS, and he has it. Which, okay.
Yep.
And then he puts the letter on top, and then Vicky's like, oh, what's that letter? What's it say? And he's like, don't fucking stop snooping in everyone's shit, Vicky. Like, come on.
It's not for you, Vicky. God.
It's a fucking federal offense to open up someone else's mail, Vicky. And the monk is running through the trees, and our crew is enjoying a nice view at the ocean. It's lovely. It's even low tide. It's so nice. And they all climb down.
That's lucky.
And he's like, wow, it feels so nice to be part of this crew. And Vicky's like, we're not part of the crew. He's the crew. We're the passengers. And the Doctor literally goes, and I'm happy to have you. And I just went, because, I don't know, I really like Steven. The monk is...
you get to see a little bit more of him.
Yeah. Only a little bit? God damn it.
Missing episodes, dear.
God fucking damn it. He's gone that fast?
Yeah, just click and he's gone.
You can't be serious.
No, not really. I mean, when you think about it, Susan's only there for 10 episodes, but one of hers is missing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all in all, a lot of them are only there for a few episodes, but
I just
like,
want him there for the full
missing
time. I don't
one
want him to
episode.
have. I don't want him to have missing episodes.
Well, I'm sorry, but he does.
The monk has gotten back to the monastery finally and makes his way over to the TARDIS. And he sees the letter, takes it, and he opens it. And he's like, The doctor has taken precautions to stop his time meddling again. He's like, there's no way you could stop a Mark IV. Fucking loser. And he's like, no, there's no way you could stop a Mark IV. So he goes to go get his TARDIS and leave, because at this point there's no saving anything. But he sticks his head in and he looks through the door, and apparently it's super tiny inside now. Like, he can't fit in there. And the dimensional control is gone, and he's marooned in 1066. And the TARDIS swoops away, and everyone's happy, and we see some space and time and shots of people's faces. Steven, Vicky, and the Doctor. And it was the season.
Yay!
Yay! Yay!
Real quick, so this episode, like, put it in perspective as well. The historical setting kind of had a little bit of relevance in 1965, because 1965 was like 1966, the next year, was the 900th anniversary of the Battle of Hastings. We're nearly at the 1000th year anniversary.
Ooh.
Yeah, 2066. That'll be fucking... Oof. So they wanted to make something to kind of commemorate it. Although, because of Doctor Who's production values, they couldn't have the battle itself, but they also still wanted something to do with it, so this story is what they ended up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Time Meddler, what'd you think?
Honestly, there were some low parts, but there were a lot of high parts for it. So, do you remember what I gave the last one?
I've been meaning to go back and, like, get the number for all of them, but I keep forgetting, and I'm awful at that thing.
It was like an 8 or 9.
Yeah, it was like an 8 or a 9.
8.
I know it was good, because you liked it.
8.
Okay. You're getting what I mean, though, and, like, the first season and a bit, they're struggling to, like, really figure out the tone of the show, but, like, this season they start to get more humorous and, like, start to understand, like the show needs comedy.
Yeah. It's getting better.
Next season is where they go, okay, we've got the comedy, now let's figure out how to get the drama. Unfortunately, we miss a lot of those good episodes because they're missing, which is a real big fucking shame, but, hot damn. So next episode is Galaxy 4. Unfortunately, we don't watch it, even though it would be great to watch it, because it's a really interesting episode, especially for, like, to look back at, like, the 60s, because it's, like, a race of aliens that are complete... It's a matriarchal society. So it's, like, fascinating to look back on, like, the portrayal of something like that.
Yeah.
So unfortunately we skipped that episode. We also skipped the episode after that, because that one's also missing. Technically they've recreated it, although not officially. A bunch of university students recreated it, I believe, and it looks fantastic. But we're gonna skip it because it's not an episode by itself. It's kind of a lead-in episode to a massive episode. So we skip that one. Then the episode after that, we skip that one because it's completely missing. The episode after that is the big Daleks Master Plan, 12-episode masterpiece. So many things happen in there. We skip it because episodes are missing, unfortunately. After that is another episode we're missing because all the episodes are missing completely, so we skip the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. So, the next episode we're watching is called The Ark.
Also, what happens in some of those missing episodes, Gam?
I'll tell you next episode, just
Well,
in
yeah.
case someone's listening in the future and they're listening in episode order and they don't want me to spoil the next episodes, because I mean I wouldn't want fucking what happens spoiled for me. So I'm just gonna say the Doctor gets laid.
Oh, shit.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
shit.
Anyway,
He gets laid
8 out of
twice.
10. Yeah, he gets laid twice.
Oh, shit. 8 out of 10.
8 out of
Actually.
10. Next episode that
Two-
we're gonna watch is The Ark.
2 really strong ones.
2 really strong ones. The next one is, I would argue it's strong. It's less on the comedic side, it's more on the drama side, and it's more of the, moral messaging side. But it's where Doctor Who really starts to get into the interesting moral stuff a lot more. And less sort of British imperial, like, clearly there is one side that is good.
Yeah. Also, by about the time this goes up tomorrow for whatever, for the pre-listening bonus, I believe the horror one should also be up.
Well, I'll upload it the day after, so they're not uploaded at the same time.
Okay. That's
So if you're listening on this on the early access, you'll get tomorrow the first movie one where it's me and Dia watching Black Sheep will be there. If you're
That was a
watching
hell of a
this in normal, not in early access, you already know that was uploaded.
Yep. Let us know how it was. Somewhere on the
Yeah.
internet. Yeah.
I really should finish editing it, but I've
Yeah,
been
probably.
struggling to do shit. Anyway,
It's okay.
see you next week.
See
Bye.
yous. But
Bye.